Hello, welcome to Alice Tales. Let's start today's story.
Long ago, King Virendra ruled over a vast and prosperous kingdom. His palace was magnificent, but deep inside its oldest wing was a place no one liked to talk about. A long corridor with 7 doors. All 7 doors were permanently locked. No one knew what lay behind them. But there was one strange thing about them. Every night, the king personally checked all 7 locks. One evening, as usual, he checked them one by one. The first was locked, the second, the third, fourth and fifth, the sixth, and finally, the 7th. Everything was exactly as it should be. Satisfied, the king returned to his chamber. But the next morning, the palace was in chaos. The 7th door was open. The lock was still there. There was no sign of it being forced. The door was simply open. The king summoned the guards. Did anyone enter this corridor last night? Every guard swore that no one had. That night, the king decided to find out for himself. He hid near the 7th door and waited. The hours passed. Nothing happened. Then midnight arrived. The palace clock struck 12. And with the final chime, the 7th door slowly opened by itself. The king raised his torch and stepped inside. In the middle of the room stood an ancient stone throne. In front of it was a small table. And on that table, a lamp was burning. The king stared at it. Who lit that lamp? Then he noticed something on the floor. Footprints. But they weren't leading out of the room. And they weren't coming in from outside. They led in only one direction, toward the throne. The king stepped closer. Behind the throne, carved into the wall, was an inscription. What you are searching for outside is hidden within you. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. The king tried to open it. It wouldn't move. Then he heard a faint voice beneath the throne. Your Majesty. The king stepped back. Who's there? No answer. He looked underneath the throne. There was a small wooden chest. Inside was no treasure, no weapon, only an old diary. The king opened it. The first page read, Today, after my father's death, I took the throne. The next page, Today, I punished an innocent man for the first time. Then, today, I banished my own brother from the kingdom. Page after page revealed the decisions the king had spent years trying to forget. On the final page, he read, One day I will lock my past behind these 7 doors. But the past cannot be locked away. The king stared at those words for a long time. Then the first light of dawn entered the room. The 7th door opened. The king stepped outside. He looked at all 7 doors and made a decision. From this day forward, leave all 7 doors open. From that day on, the king stopped hiding his mistakes. He began looking back at his decisions and taking responsibility for his past. And strangely enough, the 7th door never opened by itself again. Until one morning, a guard came running to the king. Your Majesty, what happened? The guard pointed toward the old corridor. There is another door. The king went there immediately. And there it was. Beside the 7 old doors stood an 8th door. The king stepped closer. Written across it were 4 words. The 8th door, today's choice. The king stood silently. Then a quiet voice came from behind the door. You can leave the 7 doors of the past open, Your Majesty, but the 8th door opens every single day. The door slowly began to open.